about the ladies and the ladies conference. Please give them a big hand, because what they are doing is, whoa, yeah, you are a role model. So for me personally, and also for the church, because how they plan and how they did it is really great. So I'm Dan. I'm the pastor here of ICF, and I'm talking about the church at the heart. At the heartbeat of time, sorry. I'm talking about the church at the heartbeat of time. Everyone wants to be contemporary or not. So my little girl, Julia, told me that there are parents in the school from her classmate. They look really very old. And then she said, well, they look really very old. And you, Daddy, you look fresh. And I think even when you are in your 90s, you look like you're in your 30s. That's really compliment, right? Yeah? But I don't know if it's really like this, but I was really, woo, my daughter believes in me. Today we are talking about this church 2.0. Why 2.0? We're talking about an upgrade. We don't change the main structure of the church. We don't change the DNA. We are talking about the DNA of the church. We are talking about how can we do it more intensively. Do you really know what you do, why you do what you do? Do you do exactly? Do you know why we have these styles, this kind of styles, like being at the heartbeat of time? A church at the heartbeat of time. Probably, maybe you are here and you say, I wanted to talk more about how can I read the Bible? I want to learn more about the Holy Spirit, not talking about the church. Church is a structure. But it's not right. The church is you and me. It's the bride of Jesus Christ. And that's fantastic. When someone talks about Karen, she was my bride, she's still my bride, then I'm excited. I say, ooh, you're exciting about Karen, my wife? So I'm also excited, you know? And I think in the same way, Jesus is excited when we are talking about his church and when we want to upgrade his church. And I have one verse from Apostle Paul. He said, he did it to bring her to himself as a brightly shining church. A brightly shining church. He wants a church that has no stain or wrinkle or any other flaw. He wants a church that is holy and without blame. What kind of church is this? A perfect church? A perfect church? But I once heard that nobody is perfect but Jesus. You know, I'm leading this church. I can promise you, this church will never be perfect. Never. Never ever. Because I'm leading it. Probably, maybe someone is here who can lead this church without making any mistake. Someone here? Can you lead the church here in ICF Stuttgart? No? There's no one here. So everyone, or no one is able to lead a church in perfect way. But what does this mean? Without a wrinkle or any fault, a bright shining church has no stain or no wrinkle or other flaw. No. Completely perfect. In my opinion, I think what Paul is talking about is this church is fulfilling their purpose. She is supposed to be the church, and a church with a purpose. So I mean, winning people, discipling people, worshiping God, celebrating community, helping people, and working with the talents that God has given us. That's the church. That's the main purpose of the church. So I'm talking about this. Are you ready for that? Yeah? You know, Starbucks. Starbucks is a chain like McDonald's or something else. Franchise system. When you drink a Starbucks here in Stuttgart, you can taste the same coffee. How do you say that? Yeah, you can drink the same coffee in London or in New York, wherever. So, for example, what do you like the most when you go to the Starbucks? Chocolate? Caramel latte? You like that? Me too. I like cappuccino with chocolate. I really like that. That's really good. And people go to Starbucks because they know exactly what they experience when they go in. And the same is in ICF. When you go to an ICF, you feel the same. You have the same feeling when you come in. People are talking or are dressed well, and they are friendly, and hopefully you will get a good message. And I want to talk about that. Why is the church supposed a church? And what is the purpose of a church? The reason for everything is there is an eternal lostness. Because a lot of in our life is not eternal. So our job, there is one day you will be retired. And a job has not this impact anymore on you, or your money, or your house, or you follow maybe a soccer club. Actually, the VfB has won a few points, right? But it's not very essential for the eternity anymore. But only what counts is our souls. My soul, the soul of my children, my wife, and my neighbors. It's the only thing what counts. In Revelation is written, then death and hell were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. Anyone whose name was not written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. So there is a book of life. And maybe you have never heard or listened that there is a book of life in heaven. But when your name is written in this book, you can be sure that you will be saved for all eternity. And what we do as a church is we want to win people so that their name are written in this book of life. It has an eternal consequence. My hope is that we are this church. And I know in the last few months, here in Internationals, a few of you have committed their life to Jesus. That's something very, very significant. That's wonderful. And I want to go back. I want to explain you why we are church and what is the purpose of our church. Because in the beginning, Adam and Eve, they lived in harmony with God. Like this picture shows you. There was harmony, only God and man. With nothing in between. Nothing, no difference, no isolation. And for some reason, people decided to live without God. And that created a gap between God and people. And this gap is a fact. You can't discuss this fact away and say, oh, it's nothing. So that's why Jesus came, and he came on the cross to pay for our sins so that we are free. The only solution is the cross. And that is what we have to tell people. That is what you have to say, your neighbors. is what you have to say to your students or to your friends. There is a gap between you and God, and only Jesus is the solution. Only He can save you. This message is very simple, but this message is life-changing. Because you start to pray, you start to forgive people, you know exactly that God loves you, and you feel accepted. That's fantastic. And that is what you have to tell you to people. While a message is felt uncomfortable, people should not be withheld. You should not say, I don't say one word because this is really very bad about all this hell stuff and so on. I shouldn't say anyone. You know, if you are going to a doctor and the doctor says, I think I see here in this tomography a tumor, and maybe we can help you. And when the doctor says or decides not to say something because he doesn't like to destroy the good atmosphere, yes, he thinks, oh, I say nothing, it's better, you know. But the doctor's purpose is to say that you have to take away this tumor, or to allow the doctor work on your body so that this tumor can be taken away. Otherwise, you can die. And the same thing is what we have to tell people, because people go to hell. This is a fact without Jesus. I had a friend when I went to the military service, and he had a lot of fun. He was always at a restaurant, and he drank a lot, and always when he was a little bit drunken, then he was open for Jesus. And then I could talk to him, and even though he was sometimes a little bit, oh yes, like this. And then we talked to each other. But my thought was, I had never the courage to talk with him when he was without alcohol. And then someday, he was 34, he had one child, he has built his new house, and for some reason no one was there. And he finished his life, he committed suicide, because he doesn't see any sense in his life. And I think, when I think back, I said, oh, why I didn't say one word when he was without alcohol? Why I didn't have the courage to say it to him? Jesus said, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but can't kill the soul. Instead, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. So I ask, fighters can kill your body, right? But there's one God who can kill both. So he is omnipotent. He can do both. That's why we have to bring people to Jesus. And that's the purpose of this church. So when we move from this building to another 1,200 square meter building, that's the only purpose is that we will win people for Jesus. That we will win internationals for people. That we will win your friends, your husband, your wife who doesn't believe in Christ, that we can bring her to Jesus. Do you also want that? Because Jesus is the solution. And even if you are a little bit tired this afternoon, maybe, I'm not sure, but normally I'm tired in the afternoon, you know. My stomach is working a lot. So that's the truth. And that is what we have always renew our vision to make significant. And then the second point is people have a false view of church. You know, I don't know what church did you attend in the past, but my view of church was it's always the same. I was in the church where I grew up a few weeks ago, and I saw the same building, the same curtains, the same floor. Today they are selling shoes in this building. It's not a church anymore. It looked always the same. That was the problem. When we are at the heartbeat of time, we change. When we are at the heartbeat of time, we have this attitude of innovation, you know? And that's really very important. Unfortunately, people have a wrong view or a false view of church because they experienced not what Jesus originally wanted. So you can go home and you can say, Dan said this and this and this. And in the name of Dan, I say this and this and this. And then I want to prove it. And afterward, I recognize it's not true. You can do a lot of things in the name of someone. And also people did a lot of things in the name of God. They made crusades in the name of God and destroyed the originally purpose of the church. And that is really very, very sad. And a mistake what a lot of churches make. Can you show the picture? The gap of sin, yes. A lot of churches are there when people are perfect. When people are committed to life, to Christ for some reason, then they go to church. Or maybe they were on an event or in a worship concert or whatever. Then they go to church. We want to be a church closer to the people. That means we have to go from the right to the left because there is another gap. Not only the sin gap, there is a gap of culture. So what I have to teach you, because you are internationals, you know exactly what culture is. You have other eating culture. You have other another conscious of time, and so on. There are a lot of things in between of cultures, you know. And there is the culture gap. The culture gap hinders people to come to church. Because the foremost mentioned facts, what people say when they are asked, what do you think? What are Christians? What are Christians? What is the identity of a Christian? They say Christians are hypocritical. They have double standards. There are preachers who say I am not married, but they have children even though they can't be married. So that is a double standard culture. And they know it all manner. Do you know that? Or unworldly. I'm talking about this later. And they have a judgmental attitude. They always judge people. I want to go with you to a hill called Areopag. Areopag was the hill where Paul was when he was in Athens. This is different. You said Athens. Okay, however, so you understand it, right? Part of the culture. He was there, and the Areopag was a marketplace. And then Paul preached and taught about Jesus, And then people came and said, you have some strange ideas. We have never heard them before. We want to know what they mean. Friend, tell me more about it. That's maybe the best thing when someone in your area says, I want to know more about you because you have some strange ideas. Something is really what I never had experienced before. Tell me more about it. And that's the best thing when people are coming to you and asking you, what's about your faith? Tell me more about it. Tell me more about your God. Tell me more about how you forgive people. Tell me more about your belief. That brings me to the third point. Discover a new view of the church. You know, the church, the early church, or over the decades, you can observe something. Do you know the organ, church organ? Yes? Church organ was, in their time, a very contemporary music instrument. Or, for example, Johann Sebastian Bach, what he composed was brilliant. People listen to that music still today. After hundreds of years, they listen to the H-Moll-Messe, John and Matthew, Passion. They are really very, very well known. It was the best music was in the church. That is also what we want to do. We want to have the best music on the church. Or the frescoes and paintings were like slides. But the slides from frescoes, no, that's David. Yes, it's not a fresco, but it's a nice guy. I want to talk about him. Okay, I talk about him. For example, David, built by Michelangelo. David was built on one stone. And this scene shows him, you see the left side, he has a sling. The left hand, he has a sling. And in the right hand, he has what? What does it look like? The hand surrounds the what? A rock, yes. The invisible stone or rock. Here, he has the stones. The rock to fight against Goliath. And this was like a message for people. People stood there and said, wow, that is because God, he stands naked because he wants to show that for God is everything possible. And this guy, David, is naked, like naked. He has nothing to bring against his enemy, Goliath. And maybe you are here and you have never thought about this, but the church has to be at the heartbeat of time because they were the first in over centuries. They were the first, and we will also want to be the first. They were the first who started hospitals because the Roman started with they had doctors, servi medici. They were slaves. They worked as doctors. And after a few decades, Christians started the first hospitals because they saw all the poor people who are suffering, who can't afford, and they started hospitals. Or Johannes Gutenberg, you know him? He was the first mass printing, or he invented the printing press and to reach the mass, the crowd. And Martin Luther used it. When you go back to Paul said on this Areopag, as I walked around, I looked carefully at the things you worship. I even found an altar with to an unknown God written on it. Now I'm going to tell you about this unknown God that you worship. So Paul has motivated people because he said, whoa, that's good. You are already worshiping something, but you don't know exactly who you are worshiping. That's always good. Don't say, that's not good what you do. So say, wow, you are already seeking God. That's good. But I want to show you the living God. I want to show you who He is. Maybe you can someone motivate when you see someone commit himself for a club that he works without having getting a salary, and you can say, "Wow, that's fantastic." Do you want to work also in the church as a volunteer? Do you want to join us, or whatever? So what you can do, or what we should do as a church, the church has to come closer to the people. When we go back to this picture, we have to overcome this gap of culture. This gap of culture can we overcome, but how? And we need a mentality that, like Paul said, I am free. I don't belong to anyone, but I make myself a slave to everyone. I do it to win as many as I can to Christ. To Jews, I became like a Jew. That was to win the Jews. I do all of that because of the good news, and I want to share in its blessings. Why does he do that? He has the mentality of winning everyone. How can you become a Chinese? Hudson Taylor, do you know Hudson Taylor? He dressed like Chinese, like this hat, with this hat, but you do not dress like this, yeah, right? You have to become like someone who lives in the culture. When I want to reach people, when you want to reach your friends, you have to go into your culture. You are doing that already. So you are going to the Wasen, right? The Wasen, there are a lot of people who are looking for something. And you are there, that's good. It's the first step. So, how can we overcome this gap of culture? We have to be at the heartbeat of time. And I want to invite you, I want to invite Lynn. Lynn, can you come on stage? That's good. Please give her a hand because she is talking about, yeah, good to see you on stage. Lynn, can you tell me, why are you attending a church like ICF at the heartbeat of time? You can also sit if you feel more comfortable or however.
This is too high for me.
Too high, okay, you can fall down, right?
Okay. Yeah, for me it's really important to be a part of the church, which is the heartbeat of time, because I think the world, or, well, in Stuttgart, or the city that I'm living, I think, and also Germany and other city, the world is too fast. And we have a lot of technologies. People are so busy keeping up with the trends, so busy with the careers and the studies and everything. And some are just chilling, thinking that they already have the dream car, dream partner, dream job, or whatever dream they have. And on the other hand, there are also people who are like, I think they feel that they are left behind with whatever career they want to have or the studies. And some people might be depressed and thinking like they are alone in the midst of the 1,000 people. And I think for me, this is the reality, and this is what I'm seeing right now. So the church and the heartbeat of time is really important for me, because this is where the people of God, the enthusiastic people yet sensitive people, can reach and understand the people outside the church, and they will be able to reach them and, yeah, just bring them to God, because whoever you are, whatever you're in, you need God.
Okay, you're preaching now. What do you like especially? Yes, when you think about ICF and why do you attend?
Well, first I was praying to God. Like, God, I think it's not hard to find a church anywhere, but it's really hard for me to find a church where I feel that I would belong. Because I want to have fun with people whom I can walk together with Christ. And so one of my colleagues / friend told me one time we were talking about cars, and all of a sudden we talk about God. And then he told me, I know one church, it's called ICF, it's in Stuttgart. Maybe you will like it. There are young people like you. And maybe, you can have fun with them. And then, let's see. And then one time I went to ICF, attend the church, listen to the sermon. It was good. And then I'm waiting for the ending, because I was just standing there like a typical shy Asian, waiting for people. And then this lady, she's Paula. She came to me, and then she was really welcoming me. She did not welcome me like, "Hi, how are you? What's your name? I'm glad to see you here." It's not like that. It's like, welcoming me, not coming from the mouth, but coming from the heart. And then they...
Yes, like this, or can you show it?
Yeah? No, they were like... Oh, I forgot. Yeah, and then they just, they include me in the circle and really interested about me. So I feel needed. I feel I belong. And then, at the end, I went home. I was in the U-Bahn or S-Bahn, and I was praising God because He answered my prayer.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, someone greet you, not typical German-like. Yeah, but it's important, I'm Swiss, I can say everything. It's no problem at all. So that we greet people, that they feel that they are loved. That's so important. Thank you so much, Len. Yes. And the other thing what you can do, that we have to be relevant. Relevance is important. I hope that even though my English is not the best, that you can catch something that is relevant for you, that you go into your week with God and you say, I will change something, or I understood something and I will do it. And I think this is really very important. Our message always should be very, very relevant. I often get Facebook personal messages on Facebook, and then people are saying, "Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the church." Or one guy said, "I was 2 times in the evening service and I found it really great how you did it." I think it's not because how I speak, it's more that was relevant for the guy. And I always think we have to speak relevant. And the other thing is authenticity, or having a modern lifestyle. How you clothe is really very important. One guy wrote, a journalist, he said, some Christians make their opposition to fashion dictates illustrated by the fact that they do not care about their personal experience, but also allow them to send a message. Often Christians have not only unfashionable dressed, but shabby, boring, and uncreative clothes. How do you clothe every day? People should be attracted because you're speaking to them. You as a Christian. Because you are dressed like today, not like 1960 or 50 or 40. Another thing is inspiring music. We need the best music in church, like Johann Sebastian Bach. We need the best music in church. And having contacts with VIPs, very important people. You have a lot of contacts. That's great. And you bring people every Sunday. That's great. Keep going. keep going. That's how we can overcome the culture gap. And the last thing is your story. Your story is really very meaningful for your friends. When you tell the story, people can listen to a life experienced message that came from you or comes from you, especially from you. That come from you. You read about Apostle Paul when they heard Paul talk about the dead rising. Some of them made fun of it. So he talked about the rising dead, and they laughed at him. This is a crazy guy, stupid guy. But a few men became followers of Paul and believed in Jesus. Dionysius was one of them. He was a member of the Areopagus. A woman named Damaris also became a believer, and so did some others. You know, that's fantastic. Paul had the courage to speak about Jesus, to speak about this power of Jesus. Some laughed of him. Some said, he's a stupid man. And others say, wow, that's the message that can change my life. And that's why we are church. And that's why it's so important that you and me are standing together as a church and fulfill the Great Commission by inviting people. And I want to encourage you that you invite people, that you are not quiet and not silent, because people are here who wants to listen to you. They want to listen to you because they are eager to find something significant in this world. And are you ready? The only question is, are you ready for being a church at the heartbeat of time? Are you yourself at the heartbeat of time? Are you dressed like you should be dressed today? Do you have a lifestyle that is attractive? Or like a young man wrote me a Facebook message a few days ago. And he wrote, I was a few times at ICF Stuttgart. Since I heard you preaching at the wedding, I decided to visit your church. Many things have happened in my life. I'm coming to faith every day a little bit closer. That's fantastic. We can accompany him in the spiritual journey. Then he said, I think it's great what you have done since you found the church in Stuttgart. Even though I live actually abroad, I can watch you on Facebook, YouTube. It's such a great community. He sees you, the great community, every one of you. And I'm so glad I met you and all in the community. I look forward again when I'm in Stuttgart to visit you. I think of you and pray for you. Many greetings from abroad. Jonas, he's a German guy. It's one story. Like Dionysus, like Damaris. One person. People count. Your friends count. And I want to invite you that we bring people to Jesus. Because we want to overcome this culture gap. So at the heartbeat, relevance, authenticity, moral lifestyle, inspiring music, prayer for our VIPs, sharing our story, and bringing them back to the heart of Jesus, to the heart of God. That's the most significant in all the world, the most relevant what you can do. And I want you to invite you. I want to invite you that you change your world by inviting people. Amen.